And what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sports Globe podcast. I know on Saturday we said that we were going to do an episode, but unfortunately, I wasn't feeling too good on Saturday. I couldn't talk that well, and I was feeling sick almost all day. But today's Tuesday. All the NFL games of Week 1 are officially over, and I think that most of us can agree that we're very excited and happy to have the NFL back. Week 1 was a terrific game. We saw a lot of great games, especially on Thursday when we had the Ravens and the Chiefs win 27-20. As the Chiefs are now 1-0 by a toe, and boy, did I feel bad for Isaiah Likely, which on the previous few plays got hurt on the sidelines, and he's grabbing himself, and we're all just absolutely scared that he might be hurt and that he could even potentially win some time. But after that, he comes back in the game and almost catches the game-winning touchdown. And everybody thought that maybe that could have been the game-winning touchdown because Harbaugh has up two fingers because he wants to go for two. But unfortunately, we all saw on the replay that he just got one toe on that white line, and then the game is over as the Ravens lose a absolute heartbreak to the Chiefs. Then the next game on Friday, we had Packers and the Eagles. We're going to save that game for last because there's something really important that I'll look to talk about that game. But we had the Vikings that took care of the Giants, and honestly, I don't know what was more ugly. The way that the Giants lost over those uniforms were just absolutely just terrible and just awful to look at. I don't know why the Giants did that, other than the fact that they wanted to make some money and just sell it to their fans, saying, "Hey, we have these uniforms, so come and buy them." Then we have the Steelers and the Falcons, and how in the world do the Steelers score 18 points and not score a single touchdown? I'm watching this game, obviously, because we are here in Atlanta, so I was watching the games, but that almost felt like a home game for the Steelers because you saw those terrible towels waving all over the place. You had a few players that were kind of waving up to the crowd, and almost felt like a home game for the Steelers. But Falcons had a really rough game. Obviously, they have a lot to do with that offensive line. Steelers do have a good defense. You need to give them a lot of credit there, and the Falcons are still going to have a good season. I personally believe. It's just that they have a lot of work to do. I don't want to overreact to the very first week of the NFL season. There's a lot of people that have the Falcons going a long way, potentially to Super Bowl, which is definitely possible, but they definitely have a lot of work to do. Then we have the Cardinals and the Bills, and a come-from-behind win for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, at one point, they were down by a few touchdowns, and the great Josh Allen managed to come back into that one. Tennessee and the Bears, and the Titans should have had that game. It was wrapped up. They're up by a touchdown going into the fourth quarter, but just did an absolute terrible job. And Caleb Williams, he didn't look that good either, but it wasn't him that won it. It was mostly their defense that won it for them, if we're going to be honest. Patriots pulled up a really huge upset against the Bengals. Obviously, Burrow is kind of like in his preseason mode, I would like to call it. I mean, he wasn't terrible, but he wasn't great. And I think that we need to give the Patriots a little bit of credit. They do have a good defense. Obviously, this game took a lot of people off guard. We have the Titans and the Colts, which was a very close 29-7. You have the Jaguars and the Dolphins, and I have to say this. If you're in fantasy and if you have Brian Thomas Jr., he gave you a good first game. So if you have him, I recommend that you want to keep him. He's a rookie. He had a good game, and a lot of rookies really did not have really good games, like Marvin Harrison, to name a few, but that remains to be seen. And Panthers and Saints, 47-10. Just the Panthers just looked absolutely terrible. They looked absolutely lost. Again, you don't want to overreact too much to the first game of the regular season. Obviously, they have a first-year head coach. But Bryce Young in that game just looked absolutely terrible, and the Saints were just clicking on all cylinders. I mean, it's almost like they played a perfect game and did everything right. Raiders and Chargers, you have Jim Harbaugh that won his first game in the NFL ever since he was with the 49ers as they win it 22-10. Then you have Broncos and Seahawks that won it by 6 points, 26-10. And the Dallas Cowboys pulling off a win against the Cleveland Browns, which is not an easy place to win. But obviously, the Cowboys were firing on all cylinders. The kicker had a very good game as well. Commanders and Buccaneers, and another one. If you have Baker Mayfield in fantasy also, he definitely looked really good as well. Pretty much ever since he left Cleveland, he has definitely been a better quarterback, and the future looks bright. I mean, for Baker Mayfield to leave Cleveland and come to the Buccaneers, he has looked absolutely good, and it's definitely a resurgence for Baker Mayfield. Lions and Rams won in overtime, and it was definitely an all-time classic between the Rams and the Lions. It was close almost the whole entire time. St. Brown did not really have his best game. I think that a lot of the work went to Jameson Williams, but obviously that is not going to stand for a very long. It's just that the Lions have a really good offense. They have a really good offensive line, and they can make even subpar running backs look really, really good. From David Montgomery to Gibbs, I mean, they are definitely going to have a lot of fun behind that offensive line. And then we get to Monday Night Football, the game last night between the Jets and the 49ers. And things actually started off well for the New York Jets. Rodgers looked good. Garrett Wilson looked good. Breece Hall looked good. But from that first drive, from when the Jets scored that touchdown, everything just seemed to have been slowly going downhill. The 49ers have a really good defense. They managed to do really, really well against the run and against Breece Hall. And Jordan Mason, I mean, with McCaffrey being a late scratch and Jordan Mason come in, who would have thought that he was going to run over 100 yards against the Jets? Now, the Jets do have a good defense, but one of their biggest problems last year was that they were not always good against the run, and obviously Mason definitely exposed that. The Jets still have a little bit of work to do. Obviously, they have a really good team. I still expect them to go far this year, especially if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy behind that really good offensive line. I still think that Garrett Wilson is going to have a great year, and I think that Breece Hall is going to have a really good year also. But as some of you know, Reddick and the Jets still have not come to terms with a new contract, and just, if you're the Jets, the last thing that you need and the last thing that you want is to have a distraction like this. And Reddick won the first battle because your defense allowed 32 points and did not look that good against the run. Against Jordan Mason, not a McCaffrey. But you guys really need to get it together. Get Reddick signed, okay? You do not want this to be a distraction for your team. You don't want to look back on your season saying, boy, we really messed up with a whiff on Reddick. And another team that has a big smile on their face, the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, do you really think that the Eagles were dumb about giving up on him? They knew that he was going to turn 30, and they knew that he was going to be a little bit of a headache. I mean, they didn't exactly fight hard to keep him, and that's the reason why. Because Reddick is not exactly the easiest person to please. But if you're the New York Jets, please, I beg you, get that resolved now. Now, let's talk about the Packers and Eagles. You know, the NFL last year made $13 billion in revenue, which is a 7.5 increase from the previous year. They made close to $11 billion with their broadcasting partners. They made more than $3 billion on ticket sales. You have parking, soda, hot dogs, beer, merchandise, jersey. They made you pay for Peacock to watch a playoff game. So the NFL did all that with record numbers, making record amount of money in every single category, in every single column. But you know what the NFL said? That's not enough. We're going to play a game in Brazil on a Friday on Peacock, and we're not going to try that hard to make sure that the field conditions are really that good. Just like in the Super Bowl, because we're going to wait for the Super Bowl to unleash a brand new stadium, and we don't really care if the players are going to have a whole bunch of experience on that field or not. We don't care. Well, you watch the game on Friday, and it's basically like recapping the Super Bowl. On that field, players falling and tripping all over the place, and now Jordan Love is hurt, and now he has to miss at least 3 weeks now. But can you just imagine what would have happened if that was a Patrick Mahomes, if that was a Josh Allen? The NFL would have had a different tune and a different opinion about that game and on that turf. Just thankfully, nobody else got seriously hurt. But just you cannot allow this to keep on happening. Just the NFL is worth billions and billions and billions of dollars. They make money hand over a fist, and they can get pretty much anything they want because the NFL knows that they are that powerful. But this cannot keep on happening. You already play enough international games because we all know that it's for the sake of money, and the players even came out saying that they didn't feel safe in Brazil in the first place. But the NFL just really needs to get it together. You can't just have this happening, okay? This is a ticking time bomb willing to happen. If you don't go to these stadiums, and if you don't have high standards saying, listen, this field, this turf, this better be safe because we don't want our players to keep on tripping and falling. I mean, I felt terrible for those trainers that always had to go and get extra shoes for all those players. I mean, just it's not a good look for the NFL, and it's not a good look for these players when you're watching the game and they're tripping and falling all over the place. That's bad quality football, and the NFL better be careful because I can promise you give it enough time, that's going to happen to one of your superstars, and then you're really going to be sorry, and then you're really going to check on that.